Amin Maalouf, In the Name of Identity, Violence and the Need to Belong. In the Name of Identity, Violence and the Need to Belong, Amin Maalouf dives deep into the complexity of human identity, examining how those intricacies shape our thoughts, actions, and relationships on personal and global levels. This summary delves into the nature of our affiliations, such as religion, job, race, and nationality, and explores how they change over time. By addressing misconceptions and stereotypes deeply ingrained in society, Maalouf sheds light on a delicate topic that has far-reaching implications in our time of cultural clashes and globalization.
The complexity of identity. Defining one's identity is not a straightforward task. It is shaped by various affiliations, such as race, nationality, religion, job, and sexual preference, among others. However, these affiliations are not always fixed, and they can change over time based on different circumstances. Some people prefer to have a more rigid conception of identity, exclusively identifying with one affiliation and considering others secondary. Yet, this approach can be problematic, especially when it demands others to conform to hierarchies in defining their identities. The author, a Lebanese novelist living in France, emphasizes that identity is not divisible into fractions, halves, or quarters. Instead, identity is the collection of all our characteristics combined together. The power of identity construction. Our identity is not innate but rather learned and constructed through the way we perceive and are perceived by others. Categorizing people into narrow groups can have serious consequences on their identity, especially when negative connotations are involved. For instance, a gay Italian man in fascist Italy was reduced to his sexual preference when his identity was under attack. It is important to understand that when certain dimensions of our identity are threatened, they might come to reflect our entire identity. As such, we must be mindful of the way we view and label others as it influences their identity. In conclusion, our identity is malleable, and we must take responsibility for the influence we have on each other's identities. The misconceptions about Islam. Many people have created dangerous stereotypes of Islam as a violent, irrational and intolerant religion. However, history has proved otherwise. Christianity, for instance, developed its tolerance for other religions during the Enlightenment period, while Muslims had a remarkable capacity of coexisting with others. Modern-day violent Islamic groups are recent phenomena that contradict the long tradition of Islam that is not extremist in nature. Similarly, leaders like Ayatollah Khomeini who advocate for an extremist Islamic revolution have more in common with other historical figures like Mao Zedong than any other Muslim figure. It is, therefore, important to shed light on these misconceptions about Islam and its compatibility with modernity and human rights. The roots of Muslim anger. The West's dominance and cultural marginalization of other civilizations explains Muslim anger. The reason why Muslims are often viewed as harboring resentment against the West is not necessarily due to their religion or any deeply rooted fear of Western values. Upon examining history, it is clear that the West's domination of the world, which brought vast riches, power and technology has also served to marginalize other civilizations and cultural experiences. The modern age is now synonymous with Western culture, with every significant and recent development that has taken place in history coming from the West: communism, fascism, capitalism, electricity, aviation and so on. Radicalized Muslims attacking the West in recent years have done so because they feel helpless, exploited, economically weak and culturally humiliated. This sense of marginalization began in the late 18th century when Muslims around the Mediterranean became aware of their declining cultural relevance vis-a-vis the West. In the 19th century, the Viceroy of Egypt, Muhammad Ali, tried to catch up with Western culture by incorporating their ideas and technology. He was successful in making Egypt modern and prosperous. However, when it became too strong and independent, the European powers colluded to undo its progress. By the 20th century, the Ottoman Empire had collapsed, and many Arab countries and their leadership felt betrayed, humiliated and unable to grow. Desperation led to the rise of religious fundamentalism and conservatism in the 1970s, as people saw radicalism as their last resort. The West must recognize that it is partly responsible for the situation and work towards reducing the marginalization of other cultures. The challenge of global cultural diversity. To balance globalization with local cultural diversity, we need to create a global tribe that respects the universal rights of humanity without conforming to one culture. To move toward universality, we should emphasize our commonalities while still maintaining our distinctiveness, forging connections with others through languages, technologies, and shared cultural references. The issue of identity is a critical challenge in today's globalized world. With the rise of American culture and fast food chains, people worldwide fear losing their local culture's unique expressions. The author argues that creating uniformity is not the solution. It would stifle the diversity of human cultures and intellectual expressions. Instead, we need to create a global tribe that respects the universal rights of humanity without conforming to one culture. To balance globalization and local cultural diversity, we need to emphasize our commonalities while still maintaining our uniqueness. We need to create a universal culture based on fundamental human rights that include the right to live free of discrimination and persecution, and the right to choose one's life, loves, and beliefs freely. By strengthening human rights worldwide, we build a pathway towards universality. One way to achieve universality is through language and cultural references. Learning to speak multiple languages and sharing cultural experiences will forge connections, reduce misunderstandings, and encourage compromise in global interactions. By connecting with each other and utilizing the tools of technology and mass media, we can lessen the lethal effects of narrowly defined identities and become part of a global tribe composed of all humanity.
In conclusion, Maalouf's book is a compelling exploration of the dynamics of our unique and multifaceted identities. He emphasizes the need for fostering a global tribe that acknowledges and respects our commonalities while preserving the rich diversity of cultural, linguistic, and intellectual expressions. By challenging stereotypes and recognizing our shared humanity, we can combat the destructive and oversimplified approaches to identity that lead to violence and suppression. The power of embracing the whole spectrum of our identities lies within all of us. We have the potential to break free from the limitations imposed upon us and reshape a peaceful, prosperous world.